Our financial woes may just be beginning in Canada. Sheldon on X putting out, holy cow, it's worse than I thought. The reason why they don't want Alberta to leave the CCP is slip there, holy cow, the Canadian pension plan, is because this would lead to the complete financial collapse of Canada. It undermines our AAA credit rating, says Chrystia Freeland, and apologies to all of those who don't necessarily want to hear her voice this time of the morning, but hey, I'm going to put this out there. Bear with it for a short period. We got a lot to get to.
I do think that it's so important for us to remember two things as we work on this together. The first is how important pensions are to Canadians, how important the CPP is to the security that Canadians have, that we know there's going to be something for us at the end of the day when we retire.
No, something promised. They paid into it. Oh man, the way she puts it just makes it sound so juvenile.
And how well the CPP works. You know, the CPP, and many ministers said this, it is the envy of the world. It is one of the crown jewels of the financial infrastructure that underpins our country. It underpins our AAA credit rating because it is well funded. So
if it wasn't well funded, it would impact our AAA rating. So this is a good reason why a lot of ministers are actually coming out saying, where's the money, Chrystia? Where is the money? So here's the Bank of Canada. We're going to get into some of this stuff. Looking at the biggest market that's the highest it's ever been. Looks like a big bubble. A lot of financial advisors are calling it the biggest bubble ever seen. The Bank of Canada's Carolyn Rogers urges a close look at negative amortization mortgages. What does this mean? It means like when you have a mortgage and interest rates go way up, instead of raising the price of your payments monthly, they back end those payments. So you end up paying less than you pay just less than the total amount of interest monthly, and they put more principal on the loan at the end of the loan. Many borrowers paying little to no principal on them, says this article. Canadian banks and regulators should take a hard look at mortgages that have allowed some households to run up large amounts of long-term debt as interest rates went up, the Bank of Canada's number 2 official said. Carolyn Rogers, the Bank of Canada's senior deputy governor, said in an interview that the number of so-called negative or amortization mortgages is a concern. Yeah, it's a concern. The loans have that label because they allow the borrowers to pay fixed payments even as interest rates rise. In the short term, that reduces the shock of the higher borrowing costs, but in the flip side is the amortization period. The time it takes to pay off the loan is extended by years or even decades. Rates have gone up so quickly that there are now more than $200 billion in mortgages in Canada with very long amortization periods. Many borrowers are paying little to no principal on them. Do you think this is a good thing for the lenders in this scenario? They're getting negative returns on their investment. This is ridiculous. I think that that product needs a close look, and I think that it'll get a close look, Rogers told Bloomberg News shortly after she attended a meeting with senior bank executives in Toronto on Friday. I think you'll see the industry reflect on how much they want to offer that product. It is concerning. You don't want a big portfolio of negative amortizing mortgages, she said. It's not good for the banks and it's not good for the mortgage holders. But our understanding is that there's a pretty concerted effort to try to resolve these before the borrowers hit the renewal date on those loans. And those renewal dates are going to come. And it is really scary. But, you know, we've got people in the industry, just like back in 2008 in the United States when the mortgage crisis was looming. There was, you know, all the financial advisors were sunny days. Sunny days are coming ahead. Don't worry about it. And it's no different than today.
Head of macro strategy at Desjardins, and he joins us here in studio. Nice to see you. My pleasure.
So what do you think is going to happen to interest rates?
I think in Canada, we have to expect that the next move is going to be a cut. It's not going to come until 2024, but the bank is done raising interest rates. If you look at the measures of the economy that they track, whether it's GDP, whether it is inflation, all of these things tend to be moving in the right direction, or are expected to move in the right direction with a bit of a lag. That likely suggests that the bank is going to eschew any further rate hikes, even if there's, a little bit of a resurgence in GDP in Q4, let's say, from the stagnation. Further out, though, the wave of mortgage renewals that is coming in terms of 2024, but really 2025 and 2026, means that the bank needs to get rates lower. Because if they don't, 2025 and 2026 are going to be extremely harsh years. And that means they need to probably head into those years with rates already a little bit lower than they are today. So we have rate cuts beginning in the second quarter of next year, which is earlier, I know, than market participants believe and most of Bay Street believes at this point.
So what's being left out here is that the inflation is largely in the housing market itself. A lot of the reasons for these interest rate hikes is to bring the price of houses down. The measures by these banks to put amortization rates way out is to save people from losing the value of their home. Now, the inflation coming down would be the people losing the value in their homes. So what is it going to be? Are they going to actually allow deflation in the housing market, or are they going to do, as this guy says, try to get deflation everywhere else except the housing market, which means if they don't, then there will be no more building. It's just not a good investment scenario, and we're not going to get more houses. But that's just well, we'll see where that goes anyway. My prediction is that if they want to bring down inflation, they would have to actually keep the interest rates high or even go higher with them. We'll see where it actually goes. Now, a Hill reporter finally realizes you need a home first to install a heat pump. Yeah, a lot of people, one of the costs of living that's going way up is artificially because of the government putting taxes on fuels that you may need to heat your home. Now, many people out there are renters. And do you think renters are buying heat pumps for their rental homes? No. And do you think landlords are buying heat pumps for their renters? They don't care. Why would they care what the renters are paying? And why would they invest $20,000 in a heat pump for these people? So anyway, Glenn McGregor, an issue with the positioning an issue with positioning heat pumps is an affordability measure for people at lower incomes. How do you install one if you don't already own your home? Not sure how if you're a tenant is paying for rent and heat. Most tenants pay for their own heat. It's not included. So the heat pumps program is really aimed at lower income homeowners, not necessarily low income households, which there's going to be a whole lot less of those moving forward. A lot less homeowners in the lower income bracket. That's absolutely the truth. And it's not like rent's coming down anytime soon. So as the rents are going up, so is the cost of energy. So is the cost of heating your home. And you have no say as a renter on what type of heat you have and what type of heat you're going to use. I know some places you might have a fireplace and baseboard heating and you use whatever you can at the time, but most places don't have any choice in any of this stuff. But yeah, the average rent in Canada is the highest it's ever been. The average monthly cost of renting a home in Canada is now $2,149. Definitely not where I live in British Columbia. It is a lot higher than that. But let's have a look at what they're doing to stave off those high prices. Better Dwelling reporting that Canada hides its vacant home count with last-minute registration delay. Again, one more time. Canada is serious about tackling real estate speculators, just not anytime soon. Just hours before the October 31st vacant home filings were due, the deadline was delayed by 6 months. Last-minute change is the second extension, and delays the vacant home count, it's quickly becoming a trend for policymakers to publicly pass aggressive housing policy and then undermine that policy during the execution phase. This is really where we're at in Canada. And speaking of those carbon taxes, well, if you thought you might be getting a break from those, it looks like you won't be. So this is the new coalition in Ottawa, the Carbon Tax Coalition. The Liberals and the Bloc Québécois have come together to ensure that you pay your carbon taxes, even though the latter half are exempt from that in themselves. So why do they even have a say in this? I'm completely dumbfounded by this whole concept in Canada. Carbon tax fairness for Canadian families, yeah, that was defeated. That was defeated in the House of Parliament. Now, I will leave a link in the description down below. This is the vote. So you can go check out where your local region is. You can see who voted for what. And you can either be emailing your representative and giving them a congratulations and thanks for sticking with us. And better luck next time. We're going to get the vote. Or give them crap. give them hell. I'll leave a link in the description where you can go check out who was your MP and what they voted in this one. Did they stick up for you? Were they saying, yeah, let's get that going. Let's get that deal going for all Canadians? No. It was all party lines, Liberals and Bloc Québécois and the Green Party of all people, getting in there to not extend this to the rest of Canada, essentially. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre's non-binding motion calling on Prime Minister Justin Trudeau to extend the carbon tax pause on home heating oil to all forms of home heating failed to pass on Monday. The Bloc Québécois and Green Party MPs sided with the Liberal caucus in voting to defeat the Conservative proposal, which had the atypical backing of the NDP. Unbelievable there, right? It's really a losing proposition. Of course, the Bloc Québécois, they didn't care because their constituents aren't going to pay more because of this. Now, ultimately, the motion was defeated 186 to 135. Trudeau cast his nay vote virtually. He didn't even have the guts to show his face and vote against people, having to pay exorbitant taxes on their home heating, which led to this meme circulating around the internet.
I don't have no balls here.
What do you mean you have no balls?
Is there supposed to be balls in here?
There's balls in your sack, dude. They're fine, dude. They don't go away.
There's no in here. What if there's
Chloe,
no in
knock it
here?
off, dude. What are you talking
There's
about?
no. Remember?
I don't need to see them.
Do you know there's no balls in? There's no the thingies.
What thingies?
The round thing.
There's no the round thingies in there, Trudeau, unfortunately. Franco Terrazzano taking it to X to say, poll, 57% of Canadians want the carbon tax removed from everyone's home heating bill. Only 21% oppose more carbon tax relief. If you remove the undecideds from this vote, and you just go with the people who are for it and people who oppose it, 73% of Canadians want further relief. In every region, Canadians support removing carbon tax from all home heating. 66% in Atlantic Canada. Of course, there are people in Atlantic Canada that are not benefiting from this, the people who converted their homes over to other forms of heat. But hey, what do you know? In New Brunswick, we got Higgs coming out and talking about how just unfair this is, even though his constituents are benefiting from this.
When it comes to this pause in the carbon tax on home heating oil, really, it's meant to benefit or does benefit Atlantic Canadians. How is it not fair to New Brunswickers?
Well, I mean, I think it does benefit Atlantic Canadians. We know that there's a kind of a situation here and where we're high content of oil in our heating homes in all of our Atlantic provinces. But I think it's reasonable to say that it should apply to all heating mediums. And that's what my colleagues have been asking for. And the principle of the carbon tax, even though I don't believe it's been effective in achieving what it may have intended to do, was that it would be uniform across the country. So this little caveat, was carried out by the Prime Minister for rather, non-climate action reasons. And I think the point is it should be uniform across the country.
And that's a fair thing to say. Absolutely. Now, people asking Pierre Poilievre, what would you do to reach, these climate goals? And he has, smart answer to it.
Well, let's see how far off Justin Trudeau's carbon tax disaster is for meeting those targets, because so far he hasn't met a single solitary target when it comes to greenhouse gas reduction. So we now know, by Justin Trudeau's own admission, that the carbon tax is not a climate plan. According to him, you can remove the carbon tax off oil heat and it won't hurt the environment. That's his argument. So now the question you have to ask is that after 8 years in power, why is it that Justin Trudeau still doesn't have a plan to fight climate change? Thank you.
Well, there you go. Now, it's showing in his poll numbers here as 338 is showing they're tanking. They're tanking, and the Conservatives are taking the vote here because the Conservatives seem to be standing up for, your average middle-class Canadian that just wants to survive through this economic downturn. Even the Toronto Star is showing Justin Trudeau is a problem for his party, and even if he quits, he might not save the Liberals, poll suggests. Anyway, leave a comment in the comment section down below. Let me know what you think of all of this stuff as we move into this downward turn of the economy. We are officially in recession. They haven't announced it, but we fit all the criteria of recession: 2 consecutive quarters, negative growth. That's where we are in Canada. Where is it going to go? Let me know in the comment section down below, and we'll see you in the next one. Keep on trucking.